Ladies and gents, welcome back to another episode of the From the Parking Lot podcast. It's been approximately, 2 weeks since our last episode. We're sorry for that. We're still college kids. We still got finals to do, other things going on. So we're really, really sorry about that, but it is what it is. We'll have a lot of good stuff for you guys coming this summer. But Tyler, how are we doing today?
Good, man. Feels good to be back on here. I haven't been able to talk to you guys for a while. I haven't even started finals yet. Sean, you're in the middle of it. But it's good to be back here talking some ball. We got some good stuff for you guys today.
Yeah, we had Andrew Canavos, can't speak today. We had him on the podcast. He's a videographer for Ball is Life, does a lot of cool stuff over there. Had a really good conversation with him about some AAU, some Mac McClung, just a lot of stuff. So that'll be a really good interview for guys. But today we're going to talk about, before that interview, we're going to talk about Wendell Carter's mom, Kylia, I think that's how you say her name. She basically compared the NCAA to slavery, which was a little far out there. Yeah, just a tad. She said, quote, the problem that I see is not with the student athlete. It's not with the coaches and the institution of higher learning, but it's with a system like the only system I've ever seen where the laborers are the only people that are not being compensated for the work that they do, while those in charge receive mighty compensation. She continued, the only two systems where I've known that to be in place is slavery and the prison system. And now I see the NCAA as overseers of a system that is identical to that. So as we know, Wendell Carter, probably a top 5 draft pick, I would say, in this year's draft. Freshman at Duke, averaged 13.5 points and 9.1 rebounds. Probably would have been an All-American if it weren't for Marvin Bagley playing alongside him. But yeah, I mean, Tyler, what were your initial thoughts when you saw this?
I mean, it's kind of funny that, she's referring to the NCAA as slavery, but yet she was the proponent of her son going back for a second year at Duke to continue to partake in this so-called slavery. That kind of caught me off guard.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Because when I saw that, I was like, wait. Because a couple weeks back, there was a whole undefeated article about Wendell's mom saying, yeah, he would really benefit from another year because they're big proponents of college. I mean, Wendell was considering Harvard and Duke, two very good schools academically, but
Different
obviously,
priorities.
yeah, exactly. So I thought it was just odd that I don't want to go too far into it because there's a lot of things that can really turn a person one way or another with this conversation, considering the era we live in. But I mean, I just don't understand her thought process and telling people that you're basically comparing it to slavery. Because I mean, you get free food, you get free housing, you get to play basketball. I mean, I understand it's frustrating that you don't get paid, but it's just a thing where it was just uncalled for and really unnecessary to make those comments.
It was, and it makes me what changed her thought process in the span of a week. Because last week or 2 weeks ago, she was talking about education this, education that. Wendell could have chose Harvard, and we'd have a completely different conversation right now. He'd be pursuing that education that she said that she coveted for her son. And now 2 weeks later, she's talking about the NCAA slavery. They should be getting paid. So I don't know what happened over there in the past 2 weeks, but I just want to leave you guys before we change the subject here. Fran Fraschilla had a very interesting tweet about this situation. Actually, here it is. I just pulled it up. Fran said, quote, with all due respect to you, Mrs. Carter, your son could have chosen Harvard, a place you love to play for Tommy Amaker at the world's most famous university. But he chose, quote unquote, big time basketball instead. And I think that tweet pretty much sums up this situation very well.
Yeah, and he's going to get paid millions of dollars at the next level.
Why does it matter that much to her? Your kid's going to make the money anyway.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, it's frustrating that I don't know if NCAA athletes will ever get paid.
That's a whole nother podcast episode.
Yeah. I mean, it's just frustrating. I don't really know what to say. I don't really have too much of a knowledge.
Like a solicited shot at the NCAA just out of nowhere.
Yeah. It was just maybe the Rice Commission changed her mind. Maybe one of the 0.1% of people that actually altered their thinking. I don't know. It's just a weird situation. But we'll transition to our next topic conversation. Romeo Langford. We had a podcast a couple weeks back highlighting this kid. Chose the Hoosiers in a very over-the-top, but I would say necessary ceremony. I mean, the kid's done so much to the state, meant so much for the state of Indiana. Literally packed houses to every game, signing autographs for like 2 to 3 hours after the game. I think they're making a playground named after him in New Albany, where he's from, which is pretty cool to see. But what do you think this means for the Hoosiers? I mean, obviously it's a big commitment for them with Archie Miller. As he preached last year during his press conference, that whole inside-outside recruiting where he's going to focus on the state of Indiana, because we know how important that is to Indiana fans. And some of the best players to wear the candy stripes have come from the state of Indiana. So a lot of people see it as a big deal. I myself see it as one. Tyler, what do you think?
Before I get into what I think it means for Indiana, if you haven't checked out the podcast with all the Langford coverage, if you want some insight into how his recruitment played out on all three sides of the spectrum, check it out. It's a great podcast. We had some great guys on there. But with that being said, it goes without saying how big this is for Indiana. Romeo's a god there. He's going to change that program completely. And, I mean, when you think about the approach that Archie Miller is taking in comparison to Tom Crean, it's night and day. Archie's doing things the right way. Coach Crean struggled there for a reason in terms of his recruiting. He prioritized other states when the talent's right there in his backyard.
Yeah, I mean, and Indiana has such a good 2019 class too. Trace Jackson Davis, Keon Brooks. There's a couple out-of-state guys that they're focusing on, but Brooks and Jackson Davis, as you guys probably know, are both our AAU teammates. They play for the Indy Heat. 5-star guys, top 30. Just a really solid duo. I think Trace Jackson Davis will probably end up committing to the Hoosiers. Keon Brooks he's a little iffy right now. I think it's Indiana, Michigan State. I know he got a Kentucky offer the other day. In Iowa as well and a couple other schools. But I don't know, we could be seeing those guys team up at the next level. And the 2020 group for Indiana too it's okay. I don't think it's at the level of the 2018 class, but the 2021 group is going to be one to look out for if you guys are really into. But yeah, I think just knowing, I saw Jeff Goodman tweeted something too. Romeo Langford made it cool to go to Indiana again. And I think that's something that's probably going to propel them back to the top, getting that in-state talent and even some of the out-of-state guys like the East Coast, West Coast, whatever. And just to see Archie Miller maybe even do some national cow party and some of those blue bloods do.
Yeah, like I said, I just went on this whole thing about how Archie has done a great job in-state, but two of his better guys in this class, and Jerome Hunter and Jake Forrester, are not Indiana guys. Hunter's from Ohio, Forrester's from Pennsylvania. He played with Nasir Little this past season. So just Archie, the way he's come out in his first full cycle recruiting in Indiana, it's blown me away. I knew he was going to come out and be a very good recruiter, but recruiting at this level so early, it's a sight to behold for Indiana fans. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's going to be an exciting couple of years for them. I mean, I don't want to say they're definitely in that upper tier of the conference because it's going to be so. There's definitely a chance that they can compete for a Big Ten championship and probably be a top, I don't know, maybe a 5 or 6 seed in the NCAA tournament, I want to say. It kind of depends on how the whole conference and how everything else lines up in college basketball. But I don't see a reason why they can't compete. I mean, they just added Evan Fitzner too, 6'10", stretch 4, shooting, really good shooter from St. Mary's, averages 5.3 points per game there. Shot, I would say, in the low 40s from 3, and that's a shooter that they desperately needed. So Indiana's definitely, Archie Miller definitely making moves, really just the talk of college basketball these last couple of weeks with everything going on. It's pretty cool to see them back on the map. So Archie Miller's done a great job, and I think he'll continue that.
Yeah, definitely. To your point about them competing in the Big Ten, yeah, why not? Big Ten wasn't exactly strong this year. There's room to move up. A program like Minnesota that was viewed as one of the top dogs in the Big Ten going into this year fell flat on its face this season for a variety of seasons. So some teams could fall off like that again. And with the talent that Indiana has and how Archie coaches, there's no reason why they can't rise in the conference.
Exactly. And I think it's like I said earlier, I think it's just a good start in the kind of omen for things to come in the future for Hoosier fans. So
Really.
with that, we're going to transition into our interview with Andrew Canavos. Thanks again, guys, for listening, and hope you like the show.